Firing. He's going for Landry down by the end zone. A tumbling catch for a touchdown. Jump. He's to the 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown. Is this how it feels to win?
Well, survivors, we have made it. It is week 1 of the regular season. Welcome back. This is Surviving the Season, live from the Baywater Studios in Tampa, Florida. I'm Adam. Greg's here.
Yo, season couldn't come fast enough. Tonight, football is finally live, and then our Browns on Sunday. Thank God. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, we're here. Seems like it was so far away, and now it is here. Browns seem healthy, happy, motivated, confident, maybe overconfident.
I don't think so. It seems to be the sentiment from some Browns fans, and I've said this a couple times, but man, people are really worried that things could go wrong and it will somehow be thrown back in the face. Like, who cares? Like, we act like we just didn't go through 1-31, that if we talk a little trash and we don't go to the Super Bowl and win it, somebody might say something to us and hurt our feelings. I mean, our feelings couldn't be any more hurt than 1-31. I mean, right now I can take anything on. Let's talk mad smack nonstop. Let's be the Conor McGregor of the NFL. Just, the Muhammad Ali of the NFL. What's the point of not talking smack and having fun here and being super hopeful of your team? I'm just not afraid of failure. So many Browns are afraid of failure. I mean, they're afraid to put in Baker Mayfield last year because other quarterbacks haven't worked out. This isn't the same team, man. This is not even close. This is a completely different organization right now than what we've dealt with the past 18 years.
Yeah, and I think the coaching staff and management has been backing up the players. They say, go be yourself, be you. We want that edge. We want that attitude. We want that confidence.
Yeah, what'd Freddie say about he's going to make sure that we got some of the baddest dudes? We're going to have some of the baddest dudes out there, and he's like, I can guarantee that.
Yeah, you gotta really, I think, enjoy the
God forbid anybody have like some hopes and hey, we expect to go and play for champions. That's what they say. We expect to go to play for championships, and people are like, well, let's just win a game. What do you do it for if you don't think you can win championships? What's the point? What are we doing here besides trying to win a championship, man? Get your goddamn expectations up, people.
Yeah.
This is a legit team. And if any team that makes a playoff, you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. You just need to get into the playoffs. It doesn't matter how you get there. You can limp in, but if you're playing your best ball when it comes time for you to get into the playoffs and play against the other teams, and you're playing your best ball and somebody's having an off week because they're on their descending when you're ascending, guess what? That's how championships are made, man. You want to be playing. Do you think the Patriots are going to come out and be playing their best ball this week? This Sunday is going to be the best ball of the Patriots year? Absolutely not. They're going to be playing their best ball like they do every year in January. And that's why they're sitting there at the first week in February playing for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, man, raise your expectations, people. Who cares? Like, it can't get any worse than 1-31. Well, I don't know. I just don't want to lose. And then people are going to say, see, it's the same old Browns. Man up or woman up, whatever you are.
One game at a time, right? You got to it's a long season. Expectations are high. Confidence
as
is
they
high,
should be.
But, well, we're probably not going to win them all. So we can't panic. The team probably needs a little adversity. They need some of that. It'll be good for them down the road to deal with it, see what they're really made of.
Yeah, well, that's when you do find out. I mean, somebody's going to get hurt, a key player. Somebody's going to have to step up. That's what the NFL is all about. That's why Freddie talks about team. He's not talking about individuals. He's not worried if one guy goes down. Like, yeah, you lose Baker, season's basically over. But outside of Baker, somebody else has got to step up, do the job. And you still have the same caliber team. Just because one guy's missing that you did with that guy, because that's why you build this thing up the way you do. That's why you add depth the way that the Browns have, because undoubtedly you're going to have these injuries. There's going to be a setback at some point, and then we'll find out what kind of team we got then. How do they overcome? I'm very confident in the fact that they're confident in themselves.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we want? Why would we want a team that's going to tiptoe around like, well, we think we're just going to take another step forward, maybe make the playoffs. But, if we don't, we'll still be okay with that. What? No, we won't. It's a failure if this team doesn't make the playoffs and go deep in the playoffs.
Even if they didn't say anything, it's still a failure if they don't go to the playoffs. They need to win the division.
Should have been in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
If Hugh wasn't Hugh and a kicker could make a field goal, would have been in the playoffs last year. We weren't that far away from it.
Right. 2 wins, a win here or there that we lost. A bad call in Oakland. There's a lot of things to point back at and go, wow, we could have turned 3 of these games around real easy.
Yeah, I forgot about that first down that was reversed in Oakland. Dear God.
Unconscionable.
How dare you? Terrible.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. So team seems ready. They're fired up. So I guess this is the part where we get to make some predictions on what we think's going to happen. If you ask the players, everybody's going over their marks. I looked up. We'll start with these 3 because I looked them up. Baker Mayfield, 4,300 yards passing over under.
Oh, over. 100% over. So the greatest, I don't have this up right now, but there was a couple people that were over 5,000 yards last year, right? Were there 2 of them that were through for over 5,000 yards? Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick.
Roethlisberger and Mahomes.
Yeah, okay. And Roethlisberger threw a ton he had like a trillion attempts. But yeah, I'm expecting Baker to be anywhere from like 4,500 to 5,000 yards this year. So that's an easy over.
Yeah, I think he had 3,700 last year, and he didn't even play in the first 3 games. The Jets game was game 4, wasn't it?
The Jets game was game 3.
Oh, okay. So
2.5 games.
13 and a half games. Okay, so yeah. And way more weapons this year.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you threw for 4,500 yards, you would have been the number 6 quarterback last year. Andrew Luck, Goff, Ryan, Mahomes, and Roethlisberger would have been in front of you. Rodgers and Brady just behind. I think easily Baker can do that this year. Yeah,
I agree. Also, we're probably going to be a little biased with these. Let's do Odell Beckham Jr., 1,300 yards receiving.
That's about where I have him. I would say anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 max, probably. I'm thinking he'll have 100 right around. We're all talking about if you stay healthy.
Sure.
He'll have around 100 receptions, probably get about 160 targets, 10 targets per game would be what I would try to do with him. You really want to try to target this guy as much as possible. But yeah, I'm thinking right around that. I think 1,300 is a good number for him to shoot for.
Yeah, that's somewhere around 80 yards a game, right? That's 80 yards a game is 1,280 yards. So
yeah, and this is all health related. But yeah, I expect that 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 100 catches. That's why we brought you here. That's why you're one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL.
Agreed. Yeah. Sometimes using betting lines isn't the best way because injury.
Are these betting lines?
Yeah.
Oh, really? We should get Baker in the over, man.
Yeah, right. MyBookie.com. Put in the code ST. No, I'm just kidding.
My bookie's named Frank.
Frank rarely pays on time. Well, sometimes when you're using betting lines, the injury or missing a few games is built into betting the under. So it's not like a true prediction of what you would expect from a 16-game season. So we have one more from my bookie was Nick Chubb, 1,175 yards rushing.
Oof. Okay. So that's I would say that's pretty close too. I actually wrote down that as my guess, 1,150 yards.
Oh, wow.
So if you got 250 carries on a year, that's an average of 16 and 1,150 yards, that would put him top 10. I mean, last year he was the 10th overall running back with 996 yards. So you just don't have a ton of these bell cow backs anymore the way you used to.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we used to have 20 guys over 1,000 yards back in the day. But yeah, that's where I would guess. I think Chubb anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 yards, you're going to be happy. And I have to imagine once Hunt comes in, you might not have to. You're not going to have to use Chubb nearly as much because Hunt is really option 1A, or 1B. You got Chubb 1A, and then you got Hunt 1B.
Yeah.
You're really not having that big of a drop off in talent there. Yeah, I think 1,175 yards would be about right where I would put that line.
We have sort of an offensive line that's not like road graders up front, though. Doesn't seem like this is an offensive line that's built for 30 carries by the back.
No, if the way you want to see it is you want to have low carries in the first half, probably 2-to-1 passing in the first half, 2 passes to every run, and you're running from a more of a spread type look where you're getting the numbers in the box that are useful for a running back. You're not sitting there with 3 tight ends and having them load the box with 9 guys and then running into that. You want to get good numbers there, and then you get to lead. And then when you're going to rely on Chubb is when you have a big lead.
Right.
Second half, now we're going to start getting Chubb more carries. But you really want to, you don't want to run in the first half unless it's the numbers game. If you got a good look, then you're running. Other than that, we're passing. That's the way the Browns should be looking at this.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take the under on that one just because with Hunt coming back later in the year, maybe Chubb doesn't have to have as much carries.
Yeah. I would think I'm looking for anywhere from 10 to 15 touchdowns out of Chubb, though. I think between that and the passing game, there's no reason for him not to have, if he stays healthy, 15 touchdowns by the end of the year.
Oh, yeah. Agreed. He's going to break a few, and he's also not that easy to bring down in short yardage. So sort of good on both situations where he's got enough strength to get into the end zone at the goal line, and he also has enough breakaway speed to, 92 yards against the Falcons last year,
Yeah. And I gave him 250 carries is sort of what I was basing it on. If he had 1,150 yards on 250 carries, that would give him a 4.6 average. I can see that. That's probably where he should be this year now. And how I came up with a 250 carry number is just looking. There was only 6 backs that made 250 carries. Chris Carson had 247. So that's where we are in today's NFL. You have 6 backs with 250 attempts. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any other?
Well, what do you think of Landry's got? I do have a couple for you. So what would you project Landry to have this year? Or if you don't have any idea, I'll sort of give you an idea of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'll put him right around 1,000 yards. Probably a lot of catches.
Yeah. His targets were, 149 last year, I think? It was a lot. And I dropped down his target. I think he's probably going to see a little bit less targets, but I have him anywhere from 80 to 100 receptions this year, anywhere from 900 to just over 1,000 yards, I would think. Yeah. Up to 1,100. I think there's a possibility here of 2 guys, especially if Baker throws for close to 5,000 yards. There's an opportunity for 2 guys to have 1,000 yards receiving this year.
Oh, yeah. Because that's a lot of yardage to go around.
Yep. And you have to think Higgins and Njoku are both going to be there taking a lot. And then you have once Callaway gets back. So there's a lot of playmakers here to get the ball to, but the primary ones are obviously going to be Beckham and Landry.
Sure.
What do you think for Baker touchdowns?
What did he have last year? 27?
Oh, last year.
Yeah. I think he broke the rookie record. Yeah, 27.
So it was Mahomes last year who led the league with 50, and Baker had 27. Andrew Luck was in second with 39.
Baker should easily be in the 40s.
Okay, easily. Wow. Wow, easily in the 40s. Okay, you're not even a little worried about this offensive line.
2 a game is 32 touchdowns, so half the season he goes for 3, probably has a couple games with 4. I think he hits 40.
Okay, so there was one quarterback that hit 40 touchdowns last year, and it was Mahomes with 50. There was 8 quarterbacks that hit 2 touchdowns per game. So 32 and above was Breeze, Rivers, Goff, Roethlisberger, Wilson, Ryan, Luck, and Mahomes.
How many touchdowns did Roethlisberger have on 5,000 yards passing?
34, yeah. Roethlisberger, 675 attempts, 34 touchdowns.
Huh.
So I think Baker will be from 32. That's the low end. I'm thinking he at least gets 32 up to into the 40s. I'm projecting him at 38, which would have put him third this year.
I'll take the over.
Take the over
by a small margin, though. I didn't see a line for that one, but that would be interesting to see what the over under is.
Yeah, and a lot. I mean, you know how it is. You get down to the 1 yard line. It's just a matter of, are we running this in or are we passing it in? Yeah. It's you never know. I mean, there's so many of those seasons where, what was it, Sean Alexander? How many 1 yard touchdowns did he have that one year? He had like 27 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Just absolutely killing fantasy teams. What about interceptions? Baker interceptions, if he plays all 16 games. He had 14 last year.
14 last year. Obviously, he needs to have that down, but he's a slinger, so 14 in 16 games, I could see it.
That's exactly what I put too. I have him for 14 again. And that's, most people will look at that and go, too many interceptions. I'm telling you right now, one thing that Baker is going to do is he will throw some interceptions from time to time. And it's not that he is, that doesn't make him a bad quarterback. It just means that he is willing to put balls into places most people won't. And if there's too often, I mean, we're facing a guy this week with Mariota. Okay, doesn't want to put a ball into a bad place. Gets too nervous and holds his, turns into check down Charlie. Holds his offense back. You need a guy that's going to sling the ball. You need a guy that's going to take a chance. A guy that's going to push it down the field. That's why Baker does that. That's why he's so goddamn good. And sometimes it will result in a situation that, you shouldn't have did that one, but you had 2 or 3 other great passes that were plays nobody else is going to make. You make a boneheaded one, so be it. We're going to live. We're going to live with those bad passes from time to time, because if without doing that, you really hold your offense back. So I'm fine with it. That gunslinger mentality.
It doesn't bother him. I mean, on to the next series. Defense, get it back. He doesn't seem to let it get into his head.
Yeah. So that's where I had 38 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I think that's fair numbers for him. We'll see. But I think that's a pretty solid, that'll be a real solid season, season number 2 for Baker if it turns out like that. I got a couple more for you, though. David Njoku.
Yeah, boy. That's such a wild card here, I think.
Yeah, because you don't know how many balls. I wouldn't be surprised. So I've got Njoku and Higgins down, and I wouldn't be surprised if you could flip-flop their numbers. I think they could be relatively close in what they do. I put down Njoku 65 receptions on around 100 targets this year. Let me see if I can find them, which is, I think he had, 50... Yeah, he had 56 catches last year, and it wouldn't be a massive increase. That's 9 more. I have him at 65. That's 4 receptions a game. I just don't know if there's going to be a ton of balls coming his way with all the guy. You're really having to split up these targets. So 65 catches, around 800 yards, and 8 touchdowns or so, I think would be fair numbers for David Njoku. And you could almost say the same thing for Higgins, but I think his targets are probably going to be a little less than Njoku. So maybe around 50 receptions.
Okay. Yeah.
600, 700 yards, something around there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good, pretty decent average numbers. It is tough because it's can you get 4,500 yards? How do you split that up? The running backs are going to catch some balls here too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to get probably 800 yards out of running backs for receiving total. So it'll be interesting. I think we'll see how it plays out, but you got to think it's going to be Beckham, Landry, Njoku, the top 3. I think Higgins is right there though with Njoku, because Baker has that rapport with Higgins.
Right. Good point.
So he feels very comfortable. And I can see him running a lot of that 11 personnel where you have 3 wide receivers and Njoku. So they vary. I wouldn't, if the season ends and Higgins ends up having more targets than Njoku, I won't be shocked if they go that route. I got a couple things on defense.
Okay.
How about Myles Garrett sacks?
Over whatever you say, it's over.
Oh. I wonder what the over-under is. They don't have anything like that for him?
I didn't see any. No, I only went to like 2 sites to see. Sometimes those are hard to find.
Yeah, he had 13.5 last year. He could have that week 1.
Oh my gosh.
I have him for 18 sacks.
Yeah. Okay. I'm over.
I have him for 18. You're over 18, I think. Let me see.
He's going in the 20s this year.
I know Donald had 20 last year.
Damn.
So fucking good, man. So good. You know, we play them this year. Yep. And you know who's blocking them? Cush.
Or attempting to.
Yeah, so last year's sack leaders was 20.5 for Donald, 16 for Watt, 15.5 for Chris Jones from Kansas City, 14.5 for Miller and Hunter from Minnesota. So yeah, I think Miles is going to improve on that 13.5. I think he should be around 18 this year. I would love to see that. 16 to 20 would be phenomenal season. And I think Miles definitely has expectations of himself.
Yeah, I think Garrett is going to be even as good as he is. It's so hard to say like, oh, he's going to be the most improved on the team because he's already so good. But I really think he has everyone has been. You saw during the with the Colts, like him Colts stepping up and like really doing the leadership stuff and being vocal that it didn't seem like he did before, or we just didn't see it. You know, he could be that silent leader, but you really saw him being vocal, and everyone's been saying he's faster, he's quicker, he's stronger, he's more mentally prepared for the game, he's locked in, and I think he could really blow the doors off of the league this year. Yeah,
there's one key thing also when it comes down to pass rushers. What that helps, there's nothing that helps a pass rusher more than this one key thing, and that's your team has the lead.
Yeah. Yeah. And a decent secondary and
Vernon on the opposite side. I mean, last year, no offense to Agba, but he had 3 sacks, and I think Agba is okay. I don't think he's anywhere near Olivier Vernon in pass rush productivity. Now you have a guy that had 11.5 sacks last year, Vernon, or no, 11.5 is the most he's ever had in his career. I think he had 8 in only like so many games. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if both of those guys get in double digits this year.
Oh yeah, they should be. Yeah, but there's going to be opportunity for them to just pin their ears back and go, and they're not going to work. Like, we don't care if they run here. Just go get the quarterback, and if they run, they run. And and we'll stop them behind you. But I expect much more aggressive defense on the outside, not so much of that bend, don't break. I think they'll be aggressive, not giving up the 1.5 second quarterback getting rid of the ball and somehow being proud of that.
Yeah. Greg Williams reference there.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be a different defense mentality here. I believe even Garrett himself said they kind of had him tone back some of his moves, some of his, his routine to work on different stuff. So he might even be able to put in a couple new moves. I think they're going to give him a lot more freedom just to go. Don't worry about the edge. Just go get them. Especially like you said, if we're ahead and they have to throw the ball, as you like to say, good luck.
Yeah. God bless. Hopefully the quarterback's mom said her prayers before the game. So last year we had 37 sacks, okay, for a team, and we blitzed more than anybody. Arizona actually blitzed a lot last year, but more strategically, I guess you could say, than Greg Williams' style of blitzing, where it's the all-out blitz. Arizona ended up with the 5th most sacks in the league last year, which was very surprising to me when I looked at it. 49 sacks they had. Tied for 5th with New Orleans. They also had 49. Pittsburgh Steelers and Kansas City led the lead with the league with 52. Can the Browns get as a team total 50 sacks? Real quick though, last year, if you just took the front 4 that we have this year, they had like 36 or something like that combined sacks, and that's not with any linebackers, safeties, corners, blitzing, anything like that. So can we get to that 50 sack mark?
Yeah, I think so. I think between our 2 starting edge players, we could have 30 between Vernon and Garrett.
Oof, that would be phenomenal. Yeah, I have us for 18 for Miles and 11 for Vernon was my guess.
Yeah, so there's 29.
You're talking about 29 there. Yeah.
I mean, 50 sacks is 3 a game, especially if we expect to be leading.
That's what it comes down to. You get some leads. The team has to pass in the second half. We're coming after the quarterback. Whew. That's when things get fun. If you're telling me D Ford had what did he have last year? Like 17 sacks, 16 sacks, whatever the hell it was. D Ford can do that.
Yeah.
He's never done that before, but now Kansas City's blowing everybody out. D Ford all of a sudden gets a ton of sacks. Chris, the same thing. Chris Jones, like I mentioned, what do we have? 15 sacks. Why? Because they're winning.
Yeah, they're ahead. Right. The game's turned into everyone's got to throw 60 times.
Yeah, you don't have run responsibilities anymore. So yeah, that's basically all I have. Just thought it was some interesting things to look at. The other thing, now I mentioned 49 sacks with Arizona, Steve Wilkes defense last year. This was a crazy stat to look at. Usually you look at 49 sacks, you go, hey, that's a ton of pressure. What happens with pressure? Quarterbacks make mistakes. They only had 7 interceptions. That was the third. They were 29th in the league in pass defended and only had 7 interceptions. So I don't know how that happens. If you're getting that much pressure and you're getting that many sacks, you really should have a lot more turnovers. And I think I was expecting to see a higher total number of interceptions because, you would think you'd be able to see more of that with Randall, Mitchell, and Ward this year if we can apply that kind of pressure.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So we'll see. Is that a scheme thing, or is that just the fact that Arizona's secondary was just horrendous last year?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, that's weird because they weren't winning any games either.
No, and you didn't have a lead. So what's funny is you look at the top 5 teams, and it's Steelers, Chiefs, Vikings, Bears, Cardinals, and Saints. All these teams have leads, and then for some reason Cardinals are in there with the sack total. How'd that happen?
Okay, how about, boy, I mean, these kind of seem too easy, but what about like a team MVP not named Baker, like an offensive MVP?
Offensive MVP not named Baker? Yeah, it's Odell, right? It's Baker and Odell show this year, for sure. I don't think you can go any other way. What would you say?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. Some of these seem to, defensive MVP prety much the same. How about defensive MVP not Garrett?
I'm going to say Schobert.
I wanted to say Schobert too.
I'm going to say because we need. So one thing that's killed us in the past is screen passes and tight ends.
Yep.
So can this be the year we stop a screen pass? Can this be the year we stop an opposing tight end? Joe Schobert, we're looking at you here.
Yeah.
Do it for us. Christian Kirksey, it's time to step up. Start earning that money.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big year for those guys to prove that you can't scheme around good corners and a good pass rush just by hitting people in the middle of the field that were open, like
immediately, right?
Wide open and immediately wide open because, a lot of times we were bringing the house, and they're just throwing to the blitz. But yeah, I think Schobert could potentially be sort of, an X factor there for this defense because we have the corners, we'll get a pretty good list of corners and hopefully they're not going to have to cover that long. I just don't see any offensive line that if Garrett doesn't win his rep, that Vernon doesn't get to the quarterback or Ogunjobi or Richardson. Like it doesn't seem like you can win all 4 of those matchups on the line every time.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get pressure. They're going to have to get the ball out. So our corners sort of have an easier job than in the past ever.
It'll be interesting on that third and long look where last year, if you recall, it was the NASCAR package where they would drop Garrett into either he would slide inside or Agbo would slide inside, sometimes both of them. You bring in Avery. Who are you taking off field? Is Avery giving you a better pass rush than either Richardson or Ogunjobi? I mean, yes, obviously from the outside, but are you improving on it as an interior pass rusher by moving Vernon in there or Garrett and taking them from the edge for Avery? It'll be interesting what the coaching staff does because I could see arguments being made all around there.
Yeah, I think so. And also it helps you keep Ogunjobi and Richardson's reps down.
True.
Where you can
True. And you can play the matchup
Get
game
him off the field. It's an opportunity to get Chris Smith in there. Get these other guys, get them some rest where they don't have to play 90% of the snaps.
Yeah, and you can play the matchup game. Like, all right, this guy struggles with speed. This guy struggles with power. What are we going to use?
Yeah.
Who are we going to use against them?
I won't be surprised to see Vernon on the left side in spots where they can have just Garrett on the field or just Vernon on the field and let them have a break, and then you can bring in Chris Smith and hopefully Chad Thomas can do something, and Avery can fill in there where these guys can stay a little bit fresher. Even Lawrence and Akawale are going to be expected to be able to play 20% of the snaps. Not Akawale, but Devereaux's going to have to. Ogunjobi was on the field way too much. He was wore down. He got hurt. Richardson's probably doesn't need 80% of the reps. He probably needs 60.
Right.
Something in there where you have fresh dudes coming in against a line that is getting mauled by Ogunjobi and Richardson, Garrett, and Vernon. Now you're bringing in a fresh Lawrence ready to go.
Yeah, and thank God. I mean, we were a little worried about the backup, interior defensive tackles there. Like, what are we going to do? And then, and again, now we've only seen really Lawrence go up against second stringers, which he's dominated. He dominated the year before in preseason, but he legitimately looks like a guy that you can put out there with the first team and get good reps out of him. So finally, I think we have at least one guy. Ekawale, maybe we'll see. I think jury's still out on him of what we really have there, but I think we feel a little bit better about Lawrence right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then, you named Chris Smith, obviously, and Chad Thomas is a body. I really like having Jannard Avery there as an extra rusher on pass downs. I think it just adds an extra dimension to your team.
We'll be able to do a lot of things in the secondary with the safeties being able to bounce in and out. I think we have some depth. You can get guys some rest, long sustained drives and things like that, and bring in fresh bodies. You want 6 defensive backs, we can do it. We have guys that can man up. We have safeties that can play corner. We have corners that can play safety. So a lot of options there on the back end.
What about overall record? What do you got? Now that we're here, season's going to start in 3 days. Give me your final prediction on overall record. I said 16-0 the last time. I'm going to scale it back slightly because of that offensive line.
Yeah, the offensive line is going to be a little bit trying, I think, in some of these spots. I think Mayfield bails out an average offensive line more than he doesn't. I love 12 wins for this team. I'm going to say 11 because it gives me a wild card game that I can lose in there somewhere. I'll say 11-5.
All right.
Division winners heading to the playoffs.
I have them at 12-4, so I'm right there with you at the 12-4. But yeah, we're going to have a couple of those games that go either way. But this is a team that has enough talent to go 12-4.
Yeah,
I feel very confident in that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a couple road games on the schedule that could be tough. I wouldn't be surprised to go on the road and win those games.
Right.
The Patriots and the Broncos coming off the bye. I don't know. The Broncos might not be that good. That might not be that tough of a game. The Steelers on the road is always trying for the Browns. The Ravens on the road is always a tough game for the Browns. The Jets Monday night in New York. That could be a wild card game. But now I feel so confident that we're going to go wreck them next week.
I'm definitely not scared of the Jets. But you mentioned it. I think where it's really tough is this division. We are just in a good division. I mean, if we're playing a divisional team, they're going to be a tough matchup for us no matter what. I mean, you can look at the Bengals and go, well, they're on the downside of, but they still have guys that play. I mean, they come out every week. They might go 6-10, but they're not an easy win till the injury bug hits them.
Sure. Yeah.
They're going to be able to put some points up. They have a halfway decent defense every year, and it's just not an easy game. It's one that you have to go out there and really work for. And I mean, we still have yet to when's the last time we beat the Steelers? Christ's sakes.
Right. Yeah.
We tied them. It counted as a victory last year because we tied.
Yeah. I mean, that December 1 at the Steelers, December 8th at home against the Bengals. Then they get a little reprieve. They get to go out to Phoenix and play the Cardinals, and they get to get a little suntan. Then they come back home for the Ravens on the 22nd and in Cincinnati on the 29th. That's 4 division games, all cold, all freezing. Everybody's wore down. It's been a long season. I could pencil in those 2 wins against the Bengals and even a win against the Ravens at home, but those aren't going to be, walkthroughs.
John Harbaugh consistently has his team ready to play. You look at it from a talent, from top to bottom, we're a more talented team. But John Harbaugh is going to have that team ready to go, man.
Yep.
And they're hard nosed, they're tough. It's not going to be an easy game. That's just the way Ravens play ball. So those would be dogfights for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to sit here and say the Browns are going to the Super Bowl and we're going to make a run in the playoffs. Here's what I'm nervous of. The Browns get to the playoffs and you have this dynamic offense. Everyone's excited. And then you go up against a good coaching staff and they like Belichick did to the Rams last year. It just made it look so ridiculous that they were so well coached. Yeah. I'm worried about that for the Browns. We don't have playoff experience. That's a different time. And the Patriots, they look at the regular season like, okay, we'll win our 10 games, we'll win our 12 games, we'll get into the playoffs because we have a free 6 wins in our division. And then when they get to the playoffs, they're like a different team. They're playing different. They're doing different stuff.
Yeah, their season is to get ready for that.
Yeah. I think we're playing from behind in that respect. Still,
the more football I watch, the more that I recognize that coaching matters way more than what we give it credit. There's too often we're talking about the players on the field when we're not talking about the coaches putting those players in the proper position for them to succeed. It's the coaching. I mean, Bill Belichick, you can't look at that Patriots roster. You go Tom Brady, and then look at the wide receiver group. Okay, Josh Gordon, great when he's there. Look at the players on that team. You don't go, oh man, like this is just a phenomenal team. Like it's not built like a phenomenal. It's a bunch of like, who the hell's that guy playing right tackle this year? Who the hell's this guy? Who are these guys that they picked up? These old dudes for minimum contracts at the end of their careers to fill in for 1 year. That nobody else wanted. That's what they do, but he gets the most out of you and he puts you in a position for you to succeed. And he comes up with game plans. I mean, he devised a game plan against the Rams to slow down Goff. He literally couldn't do anything. He didn't know where the rush was coming from. It couldn't, you could fault the Rams for not running Gurley enough, but I didn't think it mattered.
Yeah.
They knew what was coming before, and they probably had some video or something, but but they knew it was coming before the Rams.
So good, it looks like they're cheating,
which they probably are. But I mean that's coaching, man. There's no. It shouldn't be shocking that the same guys end up being having their position. I mean, look at Seattle. You got Russell Wilson, really good quarterback. The roster was dog shit last year. Pete Carroll somehow gets dog shit players to play good enough to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
You have one player on your team that's worth a shit, basically. And, obviously I'm exaggerating here, but it's just not a team full of talent. But somehow you continue to get to the big game because you're putting guys in the proper position to succeed. And there's not enough. And what we don't know about Freddie, we seen what he did last year through 6 games. What we don't know is how that's going to look long term. What's the defense going to look like under Freddie? And I feel good. I feel very good about Steve Wilks compared to what we had the last couple of years. But there's a lot of unknown. Doesn't mean that it won't work out. Because sometimes all you have to do is get an opportunity. Freddie gets his opportunity. And we're going to find out. We'll probably know by, week 10, week 8 to 10, if Freddie's going to be up to the challenge. I think we're going to have a good idea by then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the week in, week out grind, the slog through the regular season, dealing with injuries, dealing with media, dealing with everything that comes with it of either winning the games or losing the games. If they have a great record, everyone's going to be pinning, Super Bowl rings to them. And if they have a terrible record, everyone's going to say, see, we told you, you weren't ready. No matter how it turns out, there's going to be some questions to answer. Yeah. I think the Browns, realistically, you want to get some playoff run this year. You want to win a playoff game, or you want to win the division and get in. I don't think it's just enough to get to the playoffs. I think you want to win a game, get in there, and then, see how it goes. But it'll be a great experience for this team to even get to the playoffs. Will be huge for them going into next year and kind of knowing, oh, okay, this is different. This is a different time than regular season. Well,
playoff appearance is mandatory to me. If we don't get to the playoffs, it's a failure. If we win a game, good. If we win the Super Bowl, thank God. I mean, this is
right. The city's
I'm not saying we're a Super. I really, you got a tough road to go there, but you need to get into that playoffs, and then it's up in the air. It's on from there. It's a different season then.
Yeah.
And then you really find out what you're made of. But yet you have 16 games here where you have to win enough just to get in, and if you don't do that, it's a complete failure. Then what happens after you get into the playoffs? Okay, I could handle losing the first week or the first game of the playoffs, but I really, and we'll see how it all goes down. But this team is talented enough to be able to win games in the playoffs as well.
Right. But just for an organization that has had so much trouble winning divisional games, I mean, that's the past. It doesn't that performance does not reflect on this team. But in an overall sense, you've got to win division games. You've got to win the division to get in the playoff. You know what I mean? That's got to be the first step, is just beating teams in your division.
I'm sure their number one goal is win the AFC North.
Yeah, it seems awfully attainable. So we did the record. Do we have any other predictions?
I have nothing else on that.
Cool. How about a most improved? Is that something you want to get into?
Well, I think it's Lawrence right now. You got a guy that got 30 sacks, at least on defense. It would be Lawrence. I would really like to see offense. It'd be David Njoku to really take a gigantic leap. Now, in that last preseason game, he missed that block, and I was like, come on already, David. Let's go. Do you remember the one where it got blown up? I believe it was 3rd down and 1 or 3rd down and 2, and it ended up being 4th down and 3. Those are the plays you can't have a mental lapse. At least it looked like it was his fault. And, I could have been looking at it wrong, but it definitely looked like it was his fault. But I would like to see him be the most improved guy from a blocking aspect, where he's doing enough to get the job done, and then also catching the ball more consistently than what he was.
Cleanly.
Drop that, let's get the drop rate down a little bit lower, and then continue to be unbelievably athletic and a freak of nature, and really, this is the kind of guy that can end up with, if all things go right, a Ebron type season where he ends up with 15 touchdowns or whatever Eric Ebron had last year.
Yeah.
I know he had a lot of touchdowns, but that's what David Njoku should be, just a red zone monster.
Yeah, it's his 3rd year. He's 23. It's the year, the tight ends take a while to learn the NFL blocking, to learn the NFL systems, where in college you just run routes and be athletic. This is definitely a stepping stone year of.
Yeah. It's hard to believe he's that young. I was looking at that the other day. He's still in the bottom 10 in age. He's maybe the 6th or 7th youngest guy on the team, and he's been in the league. This would be his 3rd season.
That's crazy. So just from an aspect of, mentally growing, mentally preparing to focus, and then on top of that, probably getting stronger, probably getting faster, and then the nuances of running routes, blocking. He's definitely a candidate for most improved. I mentioned Garrett earlier just a bonkers show out there, and this is his 3rd year. So where's he?
Yeah,
at?
I think
he's 23.
Dorsey would want to say Dorsey's going. Probably Chad Thomas is what he would want to be most improved.
Right, yeah. Hell, Mayfield, right? If you get
Yeah.
30% better, 35% better, 40% better. That's quite a step.
I feel like just adding Odell, though, you're already getting a percentage, quite a bit of leap percentage-wise in talent. I mean, that's what it's about. You can only do so much by yourself. It's when you really get the players. You combine. And remember, what were people saying in the summer? Baker doesn't need a number one wide receiver. He doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. Well, okay, yeah, because I get what you're saying. He's a good quarterback, and it's like he can still produce without having a number one wide receiver. But think about how great he could be if he had one, and then boom, we went and got one. Now we're going to find out really how high Baker's ceiling is.
Yeah, because he's even in his rookie season, he got pretty good at reading the defense and determining where to go with the ball. Yep. If Beckham is 1v1 ever, the ball's going to him. Just
without a doubt.
Yeah, just forget it. It's going to him. Baker's going to make the throw. Baker's going to make close, and then Beckham's going to do Beckham stuff, and we get to be along for that ride. Sign me up, please.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie even talked about that, how Baker's even gotten better. I mean, Baker already got the ball out quick. That's one of the greatest things about Baker. When he sees it, he throws it. There's no hesitation with Baker. Freddie said that's one of the things that he's really improved on. He said he's even seeing the field better than what he did last year.
Yeah, so, I mean, Baker could even go down as, one of the most improved players. It's weird to say, like, your good players could be the most improved, but I think with the age of these players, with Njoku 23, Garrett 23, Baker 24, I mean, these dudes can step up and become much better than last year's self. So, yeah, do we have anything negative to talk about? Because I'm like ready to bash my head through a wall. I'm so excited.
Well, I mean, the offensive line, we could get into that, but
yeah,
I don't know if we have to. I guess we can get into the preview.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of the offensive line, okay. Yeah, Greg Robinson, Chris Hubbard, just be good enough. Bitonio's great. Treader's great. And please, somebody...
whoever.
Somebody do it at right guard.
Even Freddie's like, well, it's Cush for now. Like, even they can't even make a commitment to right guard.
Yeah, so.
You just don't want to get blown up, man. I mean, I saw it a lot. You go watch there's a reason why the Giants traded to get Kevin Zeitler. Go watch their games last year. Their right guard consistently. I mean, it looked like it. I'm like, what is this? Cam Irvin's twin here? Like, what's going on out there? Just consistently blown up. And it's where you at least have to block for a couple seconds, right? That's what you hope for. You just don't want the snap and the guy runs right around you or just completely bowls you over and falls into the quarterback.
Right.
But that's what happens.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what cannot happen.
Whole drive. If it's,
I'm sorry?
You lose your whole drive. You take a sack on first down. It's 2nd and 18. It's so hard to get a first down when you have negative plays. It's so hard to come back from that. That's why I think with the Browns' defensive line hopefully being as dominant as we think they could be, the Browns can get off the field and not have to do that bend, don't break bullshit that we were,
Yeah, there was an awful lot of that.
Yeah.
God, do you remember how many? Do you remember last year, first half of the season? I mean, we were winning the turnover battle like 3-1, and we still couldn't win a game.
Yeah, exactly. So that can't happen. If you get turnovers, you got to win. I mean, that's just the NFL. Let's talk about it. Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The Tennessee Titans rolling in to First Energy Stadium to face our Cleveland Browns. Browns are 5.5-point favorites.
Easy win. Not even close to enough points. Tennessee's not bad. I mean, when they won 9 games last year, and they're probably projected to be right around an 8-8 team. I mean, they're like the ultimate, like, we're stuck in the middle here. Mm-hmm. We have good players. We don't have enough great players. Our quarterback is okay, not great. It's the exact place you don't want to be, NFL purgatory. I feel like Tennessee is firmly right there in the middle. And you don't have enough to get over the hump, but you don't lose enough games to get a player that's actually going to change things for you.
Right. Yeah, and they're without their star left tackle Taylor Lewan, who is suspended for 4 games, failed a drug test. So Dennis Kelly will slot in as left tackle.
Who?
Yeah, Dennis Kelly.
What? Myles Garrett is foaming at the mouth as we speak.
That's going to be an interesting matchup for the Tennessee offensive line. You mentioned Mariota. Derrick Henry, one of the kind of the old school, big, fast.
Yeah, this would be interesting. So their offensive coordinator, he left and he went to Green Bay at the end of the year. I can't even think of what his name is. Matt LaFleur, right? And now they brought in the guy that they brought in, Arthur Smith. He's been there for a while. He was there under the past regime. Now Mike Vrabel is the head coach. But this guy gets bumped up from tight ends coach to offensive coordinator. And he says, well, we're going to do, he really doesn't want to switch things. So I guess Mariota's had like 4 offensive coordinators here in his first 4 seasons, which doesn't help, or 3 in his first 4. So he really wants to try to keep terminology the same, kind of the same style of offense. Well, when you look back, their offense wasn't good. So we want to keep it the same. They make the mistake of running way too much early in the game. So this is from Warren Sharp's book that he does such a great job at the beginning of every year. This is a 2019 football preview where he talks about the run rates. 56% run rate on first down. Okay, that's way too much. And this is the first half. So the last thing you want to do is run. And I talked about that at the beginning of the Browns should be throwing 2 times the 1 in the first half. Like that's what you want to see. Tennessee is the opposite. They're running the ball on first down. And not only are they running it, they're doing it from formations that tell you what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So Tennessee was terrible in their 11 personnel. So they were, that's where you have 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. And it might have a little bit to do with them going out to get A.J. Brown, getting Adam Humphries from Tampa, and then getting rid of Taywan Taylor because he wasn't getting the job done for him. So maybe they can go to more three wide receiver sets. We'll see. I mean, remember, this is first game of the season. So do we know exactly what Tennessee is going to do? No. But if they're doing what they did last year, they're going to be using 3 tight ends way too often and trying to run the ball down our throat. Now that would play right into our hands, honestly. Not that I don't know where we're going to be against the run this year. I think we'll be okay. I don't think we're necessarily going to be great. It's a hell of a lot easier to defend the run than it is for a team to spread it out on first down and then run it against a look that gives you good numbers that you can run it against, or to make us defend the pass on first down, and which is the really what the most efficient play in the NFL is. You should be throwing on first down anyways. It'll be interesting. Yeah. So I don't know really what to expect, but I know that they're going to try to use Henry probably way too much, and I will welcome that.
Yeah, he's a mauler. 6'3", 247, 215 attempts last year, just over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4.9 yards per carry. Had that 99-yard run.
Yeah, against Jacksonville.
Yeah, where he's just shoving dudes down.
Yeah, that helps out the average.
Yeah. Well, just a great. That was a great run.
I mean,
only lost one fumble.
So the one thing that I was going to bring up, since they ran so much with 3 tight ends, I think the Browns, even though we run the 4-2-5 defense, we're probably going to run a little bit more base 4-3 defense against Tennessee. This will be one of the teams that we know are going to be a little bit more run heavy than they are pass.
Yeah, for sure. We could have that third linebacker on the field a little more often.
Yep. 100%. So I think it matches up well, though, for our defense. Like you said, obviously they're missing one of the best tackles in the league. So, and the rest of the line is okay. Nothing fantastic. I mean, they got some decent players there, but nothing that we're not going to be able to match up well with. And then on the outside, obviously Davis is going to be the best wide receiver they have there. Corey Davis, Western Michigan product.
The fifth pick in the first round 2017 draft, coming into that all-important third year for a wide receiver.
Yeah. And he's a super talented guy, man. Like, you watch him, you go, okay, there's all kinds of like upside that they could be doing here, that Corey Davis could really grow into something special, but they just don't get him the ball consistently. Mariota doesn't love to push the ball down the field a ton. Like, it just seems like he wants to check it down and be safe way too often. We'll see. I'm not too worried about this offense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns can hold them under 20 points.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Now, Delaney Walker is a pretty good tight end. And Delaney Walker could actually, if our linebackers don't step up, if we're going to have a strong safety on them or a linebacker, however we're going to defend the tight end here, somebody's going to have to really check him, because that can be the one place where he could hurt us. And I think, didn't we play him before and Delaney Walker just absolutely roasted us a couple of years ago? I'm
going to say that was in 20. Let me see if I can find it.
All I know is any tight end that we go up against basically roasts us. So I wouldn't be surprised. I just imagine that's the case. Even if it's not the case, it should have happened. Probably he must have got hurt if it didn't.
Yeah, he only played in one game last year. So
no, it was the year before for sure. Yeah, he was injured all last year, but maybe it was the game where we played Johnny threw up the Hail Mary at the end of the game. Either way, yeah, I'm not too afraid of Mariota, not too afraid of this offense. The one thing Mariota can do is obviously run the ball. So they can do a little bit of that zone read concepts, which I will also welcome. Please keep running Mariota so you can get him out of the league quicker.
Yeah. Heading over to the defense, their first round pick, Jeffrey Simmons, he tore an ACL. What, pre-draft, right?
Yeah, that was pre-draft.
Yeah, so he's out for the season most likely.
Still, ballsy move taking him in the first round.
Yeah.
19 overall.
They have, a couple really good defensive linemen, Casey, Cameron Wake, Harold Landry, who we talked here about in that draft.
Harold Landry, this will be a big year for him. He needs to show if he can play with power. He looks like he's got, decent speed, and he'll be matching up against either Robinson or Hubbard. Is he going to start adding power to his speed? Because if you don't in the NFL, that's where these pass rushers really tend to not work out. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to have both parts of that game. Cameron Wake, though, he's just a stud, and he's been doing it for a number of years. He's consistently on top of the league in pressures. That would be a tough matchup for whoever he's going up against. Hubbard or Robinson, I don't feel confident about either one. But, we know how Baker is in the pocket. He's very quick. That was the one other thing I want to say about Mariota. He took 42 sacks last year. So if he took 42 sacks last year when they actually had a healthy line, imagine what it's going to be like now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup. Inside, Jarrell Casey had 7 sacks last year. So he's probably over Cush, I'm going to guess.
Well, yeah, they play that 3-4 sort of hybrid defense that Vrabel got from Belichick, where the fronts will vary. Yeah. Depending on what they feel like they need to be in. Pretty good secondary, though. This is not a cakewalk for the receivers. I mean, they got some players back there.
Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, Logan Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan will be your guy that's in the slot more times than not. So we'll see what the Browns do. You got to imagine that'll be Higgins probably first in the slot and Landry be on the outside. But I think you can swap those two either ways. And don't be surprised. We should get a healthy dose of Odell Beckham Jr. in the slot to be able to get him free run.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what they do with Kevin Byard, who just got paid. He had 4 picks last year.
Yeah, he was on Twitter arguing with somebody. It was like Deion Sanders, and I don't want to. If it's not Deion Sanders, I don't want to say the wrong name. It was one of these guys, ex-professional player who was a highly touted player, But the guy didn't know that Kevin Byard was even in the NFL.
Yeah,
he's like, sorry, I never heard of you. He's like, been to multiple Pro Bowls.
Yeah, I'm good, bitch.
So I guess Kevin Byard could probably go down as one of the most underrated NFL players.
Yeah, and he'll play free. Kenny Vaccaro is their strong safety. I believe these guys graded out fairly well. Yeah, Kevin
Byard's really good. Yeah, and
good.
Vaccaro's he was in New Orleans. He's been a couple different places. I mean, he's a guy that gets after it. But he's also a guy you can take advantage of from time to time. If you can get at somebody, you get him stuck on David Njoku or something, and especially in the red zone, man, Njoku could really go up and high point a ball over Kenny Vaccaro pretty easy.
Yeah, they got a couple of young guys. Depth there, Dane Cruikshank, who I really liked out of that draft, and Amani Hooker.
Monty Hooker was what, 6th round this year? 4th round pick, Monty Hooker.
Yeah, okay. So, a little look there at their D. I guess we'll see what our offense is all about. I'm sure they didn't, in the preseason, we didn't see Landry. We didn't see Beckham. We barely saw Mayfield play. Very little Chubb. So, we'll see what they've got dialed up.
Yeah, it's not a bad defense, though, when you look at it as a whole. It's a pretty strong defense, very solid, not a great defense. They're not going to be a top 5 defense or anything, but just a group of really solid players that aren't going to give you easy stuff. You're going to have to go out and earn it. You know, Adoree Jackson has been beaten in his career, but he seemed to really improve last year over his rookie year. So we'll see. There's some growth that this team should be taking as well.
Yeah, I think also, let's see, this was just recent. Yesterday, their kicker, Ryan Suckup, went on the injured reserve, and they signed former Bucks kicker Cairo Santos, and also worked out former Bears kicker Cody Parker, but I think Santos is going to kick. So, if it comes down to where they're only getting field goal attempts, maybe we can have the dude miss a couple for us.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah. So who's the other kicker that they? He's injured. What happened with that?
Ryan Suckup.
Yeah,
he went on the IR. I don't know what happened.
Oh, he did. Okay, because that's what I was looking for injuries, and I don't even see that on there.
Yeah.
So Santos, he was a John Dorsey guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, maybe out in KC.
Yeah, we'll see there. It'll be a battle if it comes down to a kicking battle. Oof. Who does it favor?
Oh, geez, yeah. We got the rookies out there trying it, so.
Not an easy game, though. I mean, this is not I know people think that we're just going to walk in there, and we very likely could blow them away. I mean, I'm not saying that we won't. This is definitely a game that the Browns should win, without a doubt. This is a game that if you're a good team and you're ready to take that next step forward, you need to win this game. But it's not like Tennessee is a team that is just going to lay down for you.
Yeah. Delaney Walker, he even said it in one of his pressers. Everyone's talking about Cleveland this, Cleveland that. So they're definitely taking on the role of the underdog here, coming in to Cleveland. They're going to be probably fired up too to get their season started and see what they have. So.
Yeah, that's part of it that makes the thing that makes people nervous. Like you're putting a target on the team. Okay, so we're getting everybody's best. Okay, great. Let's go.
Yeah.
Our best should be better than your best. That's what we're trying to prove here.
Yeah, it's not like, right. Teams also get up for the Patriots. You know what I mean? So
right, exactly. And they still win games. You know why? Because they're better. Yeah. So are we better than the team across from us?
Yeah, we want the other team's best shot. That's how you prepare for the playoffs. So
exactly. Yes, good point.
Yeah, so 5.5 on the spread seems weird to me because Cleveland has got so much play that a lot of money's dumping in on them. The Browns have got the most money bet on them for Super Bowl, at 12-1, and the Vegas line moves by the money. So there's definitely some counter money coming in on Tennessee. It's a weird number to see. I would have thought touchdown, but I guess
the analytics guys are looking at the history of opening games for the Browns.
Oh no, we haven't won an opener for a while, have we?
It says here 1942, but that could be wrong. It's been a while.
Yeah.
This one feels different, though.
Oh boy, is it so different. The cheapest tickets to the stadium are like $100, $130. Like this is now, it's now like getting a Cavs ticket, for the playoffs. It's like everyone wants to go.
Yeah.
The stadium is going to be absolutely bonkers.
Oh, did you hear Vrabel's? Did you watch Vrabel's press conference by the chance?
Nope.
He was talking about it. He goes, man, it's going to go from high school football on Friday night. Everybody's going to be at the Buckeyes game. And I imagine all the Browns fans will be tailgating from after the Buckeyes game until the game starts. He goes, I imagine it's going to be really, really electric.
Yeah.
Vrabel knows what's up.
Yeah. I have a feeling I'm going to feel it through the TV.
Anything else? I have to pick up the kid.
Yeah, no, I got nothing else, but we gotta do our score
prediction. What do you got?
I've got Browns 42-18.
Woo! 42.
Oh, people are going to be bonkers after this one. Beckham
Wow.
goes for $150.
Wow. All right. I got the Browns 68. All right, I'm going to do it for real this year. Browns 30. Tennessee 17.
Boom. There it is. You guys have it. Bet it. 30-17. If you lose, Greg's fault. What was it? Blame Greg.
Lose, call Frank and tell him you don't have the money. See what happens.
Hashtag blame Greg. Thank you guys so much for listening. What's our Twitter?
At STS Podcast, and our email is
survivingtheseason@gmail.com. Patreon.com/STS Podcast if you want to support the show. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the game Sunday. It is like Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, and Easter and 4th of July all wrapped in one for us. We've made it. We're here. No more bullshit. No more 1-31. Thank you. We're also creeping up on 200 episodes. We want to thank you guys for that, for sticking around while we grew. So thank you so much.
We went from 1-31 to playoff podcast this year.
That's right. I like it. Greg, tell them what we say then.
Keep on surviving.